Network, and we are putting God back in business. It is Wednesday, and that means it is time for the Living Well Wednesday podcast. And I am so honored and privileged to be a part of this platform that brings this forth. And I am so excited about today's platform podcast that we're having for Living Well for this week, this third week in March. And our guest is coming back. The doctor's in the house. Dr. Chichi's here with us. Awesome. Hey, Dr. Chichi, I'll give you a second to introduce yourself. Well, I'm also going to mention on the call today is another one of our panelists for the Living Well podcast, Julie Mills Watson, and we'll have her introduce herself as well. But I've got to tell y'all something today. I just want to thank God for my team. He's given me such an awesome team. Okay, so a little emotional
We
here.
love you.
I know, but I'm so thankful that I have a team that loves me, that encourages me, and that really upholds me in prayer. So I'm thankful for that. Forgive the emotion. I didn't know that was coming, but Lisa Muth, you're amazing. And I thank God for you. I pray for you and your family. I thank God for Rose and Jess. And we're an awesome little team, and we're doing a great work. And so, Chi Chi, help me out here. Introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are, what you do, and why it's important for them to know. And then, after Julie gets an opportunity to do the same, I'm going to switch it back to you to ask you to tell us what we're going to talk about today. You know,
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me on this platform. My name is Dr. Chichi or Chichi, whichever one that you feel comfortable calling me. I'm okay with that. So basically, I am a medical doctor, but currently I don't work in a clinical settings. I teach at Southern Crescent Technical College. I teach anatomy and physiology. I help my students, get to learn about anatomy and physiology and also, put in uh, health into it, health and wellness into it, so to kind of help them connected. And I'm very passionate about health. When you learn how to keep yourself healthy, it makes it, easy. I'm not saying it's like all that easy, but it's an easy journey to work through. So that's who I am. I have a business, called Rejuvenate Integrative Health and Wellness. If you follow me on the social media, it is Chichi Health, and you can click on it and go to my website and check me out. All right, Julie.
Oh, yes, I'm Julie Mills Watson, and excited to be back another week with you guys. Health navigator. My business is Body of Health and Life. I've been in the wellness industry for 20 years. My specialty is lymphatic therapies, massage therapist, retired, but now working with a wonderful company using light therapy, wearable patches that can help activate your stem cells. So excited that I can still help people hurt less, heal quicker, and have a better quality of life wherever they are. So they don't have to come to my office. So excited about that.
Yes.
So that's who I am.
wow, awesome. I'm so grateful for Dr. Chi Chi bringing forth the message and her piece as well. We get to hear from Julie next week. But this week we have a part two. And Lisa and I, we showed up. So I think we're due an A for showing up, But last time, Julie, you weren't with us in part one, but you talk about no condemnation to those that are in Christ Jesus, but you talk about some conviction. There was some conviction happening here. And so Dr. Chi Chi continued to help us get well and to live well. I mean, I intentionally and I purpose, I tried for 10, but I was in bed. I told them behind the scenes because we learned between 10 and 2 are the hours that are most essential for our organs to rest, replenish, to be able to function well. And so that old Beth, she was her organs missed it every night. Because it was well after that 10. Well, right, I got a little bit because you said 10 to 2, right? Not 10 to 12, 10 to 2.
Yes.
So I get in about an hour most nights of rest for my organs. But last night, Chi Chi, I have a testimony again. I want to say it publicly. I'm so proud of myself. At 10:30-ish, I was in bed. Yes, yes, and I'm
Yes.
really excited about that. Talk to us today. Tell us a recap, if you would, from part one, and then just flow into what God has given to you to share with us that we might live well.
Yes. So, a lot of people don't understand that in order for you to be healthy, you have to get your gut, together. Remember, we talked about our little cell membrane. And so a lot of times, people just eat like I always, say, I hear people say, I can eat whatever I want to eat, because I go to the gym, I do all these things. I'm like, no, you're not, and there's like, and I was telling somebody one time, uh, I don't see the advert anymore, but we have this guy that will talk about how he eats pizza all the time and he works out, So it was like a way of him advertising that you can eat whatever you want to eat and still work out and still be healthy. And I'm like, oh, bro, like, no. So, anyways, going back to gut health. In order for us to be healthy, we got to heal our gut. If we don't heal our gut, then, it's hard for us to be healthy. And by healing your gut is understanding what you're putting in your mouth. Knowing how to fight the good bacteria, fight the bad bacteria, get rid of the bad bacteria, and grow your good bacteria. Yes. So that's what we are going to continue today.
Awesome, awesome. This is so good. It is good. And it sometimes what I'd like to prepare the people for that I experienced, the last session is don't feel bad that you haven't been doing
Mm-hmm.
this. Feel glad that you get the opportunity to reset and you can
Yes.
start again. And I just believe in that you can reset and start again. And that's why we endeavor to put this information out to you. Thank you, Dr.
Yes.
Chichi.
And I'm glad that you said that because a lot of times, people feel like when they start this health journey, again, I always use that word journey. It's not a sprint, it's a journey. And so when they start that journey, they feel like, oh, I fell off the wagon. Oh, it's hard for me to get back on. No, if you fell off the wagon, just come back. It's still we are still in a journey. It's just like if you're driving to New York and you got to stop at the restroom and you use the restroom. Just because you didn't go straight to New York doesn't mean that you're still not going to New York. You're still going there. You just took a little detour. And that's the thing with the health journey. Sometimes we take a little detour and then we come back in and we'll continue.
This is good because, and a great analogy there, because as we travel through life, it
Mm-hmm.
is a journey. It isn't, uh, like you said, it's not a sprint. It's going to be adventures along the way
Mm-hmm.
that we will experience. And when you look at life, uh, outside of the fact that it is a journey, because he's called us to go through life and we have to occupy until he comes, and the opportunity is to not become stagnant. What I want, and I always like to do on every broadcast, is to remind our listeners, our followers, our members, our sponsors that this is yet the year to shift. God has called us to be focused in 2026 to experience Him in the shift. And I won't take up a lot of time on the acronym because it's really, really good. But what we will do is post it in the news feeds, and Lisa will take care of that. But the one thing that I want to highlight of the acronym, although February we're focused on heightening the heartbeat for him, but I want to
Mhm.
reflect back to how we really went on a deep dive last month on the S, the foundational step letter in the acronym
Mhm.
is to surrender stale systems. And that's the mindset. That's the opportunity. The stale systems, we believe there are four that are found in your born identity. And born is an acronym within the acronym because it represents the beliefs, the operating, the regulating, and the navigating systems. And God gave me that download. That is getting back to born identity, going back to Jeremiah 1:5, because he knew us before he formed us in our mother's womb. And so the opportunity is the beliefs right now are critical. How that mindset is stayed on him. And the opportunity to understand that we can experience a shift in how we think and what we believe. Like me, and going to bed, I gotta go to bed. You gotta sleep. And then you go to bed late and get up early. That's not of God. Okay.
Yes. And, I like that part, where you talk about we got to go to bed and, early so that when you wake up, you get enough sleep, Again, like I said, last time, it's just like if you are working, working, working without taking any rest, you get cranky. The same thing with ourselves, when our cells don't get enough rest or they don't get the rest that they need, they get cranky and they show up, either as one chronic disease or the other. So that's something that we have to be mindful of. And I think I was talking to somebody one time at my church, and he was like, yeah, we get so caught up in our spiritual life that we forget that if our physical life is not in order, then we are not going to be able to enjoy that spiritual life that God has given us. Of course, physical life, God gave it to us too. We have to know how to take care of our physical life so that when you're talking to somebody, I always say that, when I go to, and I use these two things. When I go to, I don't really eat at fast food, but when I go there and there's somebody who is serving is way overweight, I turn around. I don't eat. I don't get the food. The same thing, if I'm going to, see a doctor or a clinician and they're overweight, there's nothing else that you're gonna tell me that I'm gonna listen. You know?
Really?
Oh yes.
Oh my
Oh yes.
goodness. Now tell me about the restaurant. If you go into the restaurant, how do you handle that? Yeah.
So when I go in, I just, if I'm looking at the people and, the person who is about to serve or take my order is overweight, I just literally just, keep looking at the menu and then I just turn around and leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me your premise behind that.
Because in my mindset, I feel like, it is the food that they are eating that kept them that way. And I don't want to
Oh,
be that.
okay. 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 So
That's
that's
just
just a
my
personal
It's
thing
a
there.
personal
Okay.
thing, yes.
Okay.
And yeah, so again, when I'm saying that it's being intentional, right? When you are intentional about something, it's just like on TV, they would have all these adverts, and when I see some adverts, and let's say first, I don't eat burger, I eat, if I do eat burger, it's the one that I make myself. And I will see my kids are like, oh, this is so good, and in my mind, all I can see is heart attack.
Whoa. Whoa.
you
Oh my
know
goodness. Oh
so
my goodness.
again, being intentional what you put in your body, I'm not saying that you should deprive yourself of food and all that, but if you're gonna eat things, try to find the healthy stuff to eat that
Mhm.
healthy things. I know my husband made a comment last week, like, "Oh, all you health coaches, you guys don't want us to enjoy food." I was like, "No, I do want you to enjoy."
Be,
But yeah,
be,
so
be-
that's my thing. Go
because he
ahead.
was wanting something, some sugar or something. Okay. But you have other alternatives, right?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. You do. And and something else that is so interesting is that once you start going on this health journey, there are certain things that when you eat it, your body will tell you that it doesn't belong here.
Okay. Okay.
Like for me, there are certain things that I will eat and I will notice I start having, stomach pain.
You
You
start
know,
to have what? Now say that again.
stomach pain.
Ah,
Oh,
okay.
yes.
But let me
And
ask you a question, and I know somebody's probably wondering about this in addition, but God said he created all things and
haha.
in moderation, right? How do you so or do you just cut out things that
So
don't
what
serve
we
your
are
body well?
Yes, and you have to also, when you say God created all things, right? Okay, let's think about some of the processed food. I don't think that God came down and, made all those processed food for us, right? And that's why those processed food that was killing us. Those God-made things are not killing us. When we go in is and buy all these processed food and again one of the days when I will do the milk, so we'll learn about how to make milk and you get to read the ingredients. These are the things that they sell it in the store, make it easier for us to buy. But then when you're looking at the ingredients and you're like, hold up, so again, it's not that you're stopping to eat everything. You become intentional and you start to read labels and you start to understand what exactly is in the food that I'm eating. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that you're on mute.
In the food labels. God created the ingredients, but the
Yes.
combining of the ingredients was man. I guess
Yes.
is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, yes. And it's like somebody was asking me, I was having a talk about oil and somebody said, yeah, what about vegetable oil? I said, okay, tell me, you eat vegetable. Give me one vegetable that produce oil. And they're like, no. I said, okay, you eat corn. Does corn produce oil? And she's like, no. I said, yes. So that's what I'm talking about. God made corn, right? We eat corn. God made, all the vegetables. Their job is not to produce oil. But those oil are so cheap because they are processed, and those are the oil that they use in the restaurants. We say they are hydrogenated oil. They use them in the fries. That's why the fries are so addictive. People love fries. Those oil are what causes that inflammation in our body, and they screw our body up.
I have something to say about that. Let's see.
Yes.
I'm trying to get my myself so you can see me.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
there we go.
Yes. I see you.
So also to bring in the biblical side of this is that Satan has a big part in having us have cravings for the sugar and the fats, and because it makes us sick, and when we're sick, we're weak. So we really, yeah, once you start looking at, especially Beth, your question about that do things in moderation, that's like a little carrot. And once you do it in moderation, you're going to
Dangling it.
want a little
Yeah.
more, and you're going to want a little more. Now, are we all perfect? Absolutely not. Do I like my glass of wine every now and then? Absolutely. We have our tiny little pleasures. That's not what we're kind of talking about, but not totally talking about, but to look at that Satan definitely has a big part in even even downloading the recipe for Captain Crunch. I mean that it's there's no nutritional value in it. It does
Mm,
nothing for the body except make it sick. And then that's, kids are involved and you can go through a whole thing. But I know years ago when I finally found out about food and got passionate about it, it was amazing how uh, marketing will make parents buy things for their kids, and then that's the worst thing for them. So anyway, I just opened a can of worms, but when we're talking about it is got when you get back to God's food the way he made it, then it
mm-hmm.
definitely feeds your body.
But I think the moderation piece, thank you for, elaborating that and taking it back to the enemy is a tempter. And he likes to tempt us. And if you're not strong, but when you look at the scripture, what Julie, what I was coming from is Philippians 4:5. And it's important that what you just said, just even using your glass of wine, I don't need a glass of wine because I'd probably have about three or four or five or six, So it's lawful, but it's not expedient for me. I don't, that's not my tempter. My tempter is more bluebell ice cream with my daughter-in-law's homemade pound cake, But knowing how to have a slice, although they finally celebrated my birthday and she baked me a cake about a week ago or two. And I had a slice that night. I had a slice the next morning. And then I even had a slice. I'm just being transparent before I left. But I left that cake over there. Now, did I call them a week later and say, is my cake still? We have any more of my cake? But it was gone. But I left the cake there. So to me, moderation, is you know, let's just say 80 to 90% of the time, if we're walking, I mean, because God, God gives us grace, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so what I'm saying is, and I know the goal, I'm like your husband, can I have just a little bit of something to tie me over? Because I have great strength, willpower. I can fast, I can do all that stuff. But occasionally, I believe that as we continually delight ourselves in Him, that He does give us, if we desire. Sometimes I don't even desire it. I remember when, and I think I've showed you guys, the grab bags of salt and vinegar chips and Lay's
Mm-hmm.
and Chunky Monkey ice cream, the whole pint.
Ooh.
I could in one setting, both of them. And I
Mm-hmm.
look back on that, and I mean, I can get a spoon, a tablespoon
Mm-hmm.
of Chunky Monkey when I have a craving sometimes, and that's it. That's all I want. You know, I don't know.
So going back to what you had, so a couple of things I wanted to mention. Then it's so interesting that the Bible verse that I have for today goes to that. So one, you're talking about the cake, I think if I heard you correctly, your daughter-in-law made the cake, right? Okay, so there's a difference. She made the cake versus the cake that is bought in a store because there's so much stuff that I put in those ones that I bought in a store, one to, help it so that the, shelf life is going to be longer.
Uh-huh.
So now, obviously, your daughter-in-law is not gonna put all the other junkies that they put in there. So that's again making it a little bit healthier. That's one. Now, number two, when we are talking about, you are sitting there eating. Remember, you talked about you ate today, and then you ate the next day, and then the next day. There's somebody that will sit and eat like half of it. Yeah. So that's one.
I hear you there because I
Yes.
probably would have been that one had the cake been in my home.
And it,
Sometimes I guess the point too, and then I want you to continue. And I only
Mhm.
ate 2 days, the night of, the morning, and the evening of the next day. But sometimes if you have it there, and like you said, you put something in your mouth, and it's like, I don't want that.
Mm.
That's just the more of what you put in is the more of what you're going to crave. Don't you think that's
Yes.
what it is?
Yes.
If I put more green in my mouth, I'm going to crave more of that. And that's what's happening to me. Really,
Mm-hmm.
seriously. That is what happened. I can slide squash and make like it's potato chips, squash and potatoes. What do you call the potatoes? The sweet
The
potatoes.
fried, oh,
Yeah.
sweet potato,
And
huh?
just slice them with some olive oil and a little bit of seasoning. And I love that stuff, you know?
Yeah. And then you have, another thing also that Julie mentioned that I wanted to talk about how to, of course, the devil working and try to, get us addicted to all of these things. Now, I wouldn't say let's remove the devil out of it, but do you know that there are scientists that are dedicated to that? Dedicated to research to really understand how do we get addicted? How do we get people to be more addicted to certain things? There are scientists that is their job. They are dedicated to it every single day to make people addicted to certain food. So, okay, just wanted to mention that. Now, I'm going to read from my book, my 30-day wellness journey. Day 9, I have a Bible verse there, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. And that is something that, just like we talked about, eating, even when you're eating those quote unquote healthy food, that doesn't mean that you should go and indulge in all that healthy food, right? It means eat it in moderation. And as you're eating it in moderation, your body, because one, um, even if it's all healthy and I'm eating 24 hours a day, my cells are not resting, right? So I have to learn how to be able to eat and give time for myself to be able to rest. Next, eat, give them time to rest. So again, those are some of the things that we have to learn, in taking care of our body.
And when you think about it though, and whatever we do it heartily as unto the Lord and not unto men, because
Mm-hmm.
he's the one that's going to reward. But one of my devotions this morning, I did a huge day of just nothing but studying and resting in the Lord earlier today. And one of the devotions that I read talked about when we please God, that we're overjoyed about the temple. But the thing that I believe what you just said is sometimes just because people are eating correctly, like some you can go in a healthy restaurant and people are overweight, And so
Mm-hmm.
it's a matter of individuals, you know what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily go along with saying, that's your personal thing you had said, but I've seen people like ministers and whatever. So I want to try not to judge that they may have been representation of the food that is being served there. No, they're representation of
What they
of
eat.
of their own, of their own regard, not maybe it's just like my kitchen. I have in my kitchen all kinds of things that are not good for me, not in particular that I go out buying them, but like sugar is not good for me, but I have it. Flour, white flour, okay? Things like that. I cook with them on a regular basis? No, but do I need them on occasion for a different dish? Yeah. And there are probably some substitute there, but the thing that I believe is that the grace of God.
Mm-hmm.
That what do you think? Is it applicable, the grace here?
Yes, of course. Yeah, and they're also knowing well because, again, one of the things that I talked about last time is Bible said, my people perish due to lack of wisdom, right? So when you don't know something, it's different. Okay. When you know something, you start to work on it, right? So it's not like, let me just use this as an example. It's not like you're going to stop eating sugar overnight. right? It's not like you're going to, stop cold turkey. Every now and then you might be able to put in sugar in something that you're eating or whatnot, but you are aware, right? That this is not something that you should be eating every day. There are people that are, they will eat fast food every single day. There are people that you ask, so do you eat your veggies? And and they tell you, yes, they do. How do they get their veggies? From the burger, because they have that lettuce there. They have, tomato there. That is their vegetable per day. So again, these are, once you are aware of it, once you know it, then you become conscious of it. And you start, we talk about the wine, I don't drink wine. But, again, when, the studies that I have listened to, I've heard about, again, when it comes to wine that is good for us, which is the one, you see in the Bible, are not the sweet wines, actually. Those are the bitter wines, because those sweet wines they have sugar. So they are not even healthy for us. So if you really want to get the benefit of wine, you got to get those ones that are bitter, that doesn't have that sugar in it. But who wants to be drinking that? Not too many people. So again, understanding that, being aware on, about yourself, and understanding that if I do one change, like when Julie, we did that whole presentation last year, one simple change. You do just a simple change, that one simple change will take you to the next step, and you become aware, you become hunger to be able to, do better. And people don't understand that one simple step that you actually taking can do a whole lot of change inside your body. you know
It,
it's
it
like when
is.
I
Yeah, come on.
go ahead. Oh,
No.
I was gonna say, it's like when somebody comes to me and say, oh, I want to lose, 20 pounds. I'm like, you cannot lose 20 pounds in 1 week if you're trying to do it the right way. It's going to take a while, because your body has to heal. And once your body heals, then it starts to shed those, fat off.
And that's a great topic because I don't know how it prioritizes on health scales of targeted mostly by people for whatever reason, whether it's health or just want to look differently, is losing weight. And there's so many misnomers. And I
Yeah.
wrote my book, Food is Not the Boss of Me, and God healed me of those. That's when he healed me of those, that chalky monkey and those grab bags of potato chips. He literally, I didn't even know um, there exists an opportunity, and excuse my ignorance, for food addiction. I just didn't until Holy Spirit spoke it to me and said, I've healed you from a food addiction. I also believe that was essential because if you look at Proverbs 23:6, also it cautions us about eating the food of people that have an evil spirit. And my mom almost always said that she just didn't eat everybody's food. You could not cook for her. Everybody could not. And I was like, wow. So all of that happened right in there together. But the thing that I want to kind of elaborate or help get your clarity to clarify for a lot of people is related to weight loss and wanting it immediately and thinking the approach to that. And if I'm taking you away from your gut presentation, we can park it for
Oh,
later.
no.
But
No, it's
it
good.
is so essential because it worked for me. What's working for me, people are telling me lately. Um, you're slimming down, you're thinning, and I mean, even Julia, different ones have said that to me. And it is what she said. One simple change can make the difference in
Mm,
in your whole weight loss world. And I believe that my weight loss is spiritual in that when I sought the Lord more, and Julie and I talked about it on her show, on her podcast, and I started to lay out prostrate before him he said one time, plank. Now I'm seeking to increase and just really embrace my relationship and intimate time with the Lord. But when we delight in Him, He will give us the desires of our heart. And He's the one that told me to start planking. And initially, a quick questioning and humor, around it, because it was so bizarre to me for him to say that. And that wasn't my pointed prayer at that time. And that wasn't what I was desiring. But as I delighted into him, he showed me the opportunity, and it evolved into something that caused me to
Hmm.
really thin inches and weight.
Yeah, that is so amazing, just to hear that. I can't tell you how many people that will come to me, and because I cannot give them an overnight solution, they will not sign up. But that's the thing, people just want to say, and and one of the things I always tell them, just remember that you didn't gain weight overnight, right? It took a while, and therefore it's gonna take a while for you to lose that weight. And so in order for you to, go through that weight loss, you have to heal your gut. This is why when we see people go in and do the whole, lapro and all of that, go and do gastric sleeve. And after a while, you see it, they gain so much weight back because it's not a permanent solution. It's not a permanent solution. And that's something that I'm always, being careful when I'm talking to my clients. Let's heal your gut first. If we can get your gut, to be in the right way, then your body will start to heal itself because the body already knows what to do. You
That's
know,
amazing, isn't it? I,
it
I
is.
believe that the key is consistency.
Yes.
And I'm going to say something else too, is don't look to the left and don't look to the right. Because there's all of these opportunities that are just, they go through your news feed. Look at what I did, follow me. And I'm not saying that some people need people like Chichi and Julie, health coaches, to help them, to facilitate the loss. Sometimes they need those aids. I don't, what you were saying, what is it, Ozempic or something like that.
Yes.
Obviously, because of my
Manjaro.
A1C, um, my doctor wanted to, but I'm 67, and I'm very grateful that I'm on absolutely no medication prescription. I'm on supplements. And I wanted to stay that way. And so I told my doctor to just give me a little more time because I peaked over. I don't know how I did it, but I did. I got my eating out of control, out of whack again. But I pulled it back. I wasn't even aware of it. It was a little stress happening in my life, and it happens. The thing that I want to say and to encourage you, do what you have to do initially, but get with a health coach. Don't just start with trying to make the body. You got to look internally too, to what Chi-Chi's saying, as what's going on, and that requires a coach as well.
Yes, yes. And also, remember last week I mean, not last week, last month, I was talking about how you might see people, they look slim, they are eating whatever they want to eat. And then when they get sick, man, it seems like all the organs just, go to the left. And this is because also not knowing what to eat. Okay, because your body has told you that you're slim, you're skinny, you're enjoying, all kinds of food. But internally, they are struggling. So
Mm.
yes, then that's what one thing, as a health coach, health coach can help you. Like I have somebody that did my went through my program. And after a while, she's like, you know what? I really want to do Ozempic. And I said, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Right now we are, healing your body, doing our. So I said, so tell me what is the problem? And so her major thing is like, she really wants to lose all this weight. But along the way, we were 3 months into it, and she said, you know what, I have learned so much about my eating. I have learned, healthy eating. I've learned this. And so she was just going on like, all the things that she has learned within that 3 months that she has been with me. But, at the end of the day, she decided that she wants to go and do the Ozempic. And I said, okay, you do what you want to do, but just know that I've given you the foundation, because a lot of times, we think that this, fix me quick is where the answer is located.
Yeah, yeah. But when you really learn,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say it's a spiritual thing, how to wait on the Lord, and
Mm-hmm.
you learn how to renew your strength in Him,
Yes.
the urgency of it, just knowing you're on the right path makes the difference. And God can move suddenly where you're in a mode of just dropping, dropping, dropping because of your consistency. And we can trust God in a minute, but there's like our vision for business. We want things from God. We ask Him for it. I don't know that there's not anyone that we could think of or that could show themselves of not asking God for something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this briefly with Dr. Teresa Carthon on Transformation Tuesday on yesterday. When we ask God for things, He's not turning a
Yeah.
deaf ear to our request, but His timing is perfect. He knows, like you said, it didn't get there overnight. It's not going to come off overnight. Not really.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we shrink in size, we also need to shrink related to what it is that caused us to go to
Mm-hmm.
that size. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yes.
stress and things associated. And if we get there ahead of God, talking about that
Mm-hmm.
business vision as well, and we're not prepared to be able to handle it, the results are going to go back to those stale systems, to that old way of doing it. You've got to learn. There has to be a process.
So true. Yeah. Going back to the root cause. So
Yes.
that's one of the things that we do as a health coach. We have to look at the root cause. Somebody comes to me and tell me I can't sleep. I have to understand what is the root cause. Why are you not sleeping?
Yeah.
And that's the difference between when you are talking to a health coach and, our clinicians, because you're not sleeping. Okay, we got medication for you. Here you go, take it. But, as a health coach, I have that, 1 hour with you to be able to dig deep to figure out, what is going on? Why are you not sleeping? And then we start to walk backwards, to figure out, okay, how do we get you back on track? Okay.
Love it.
Not
Love it.
not because like I had one of my friends one time, we went to lunch and she's like, yeah, we were talking about sleep and talking about, the electronics. And she's like, yo, I got stay in electronics till like 1, 2 in the morning, and then I have to wake up at 6 to go to work. And I was like, why? What are you looking at? But anyways, so I just started telling her, okay, like, why don't you just call back 1 hour instead of staying on the phone till 1 o'clock? Stay till 12. And then you see how that works. And then you go back again, you stay till 11. So again, just slowly. Okay, I can't just tell you, okay, stop in electronics, at 8 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, I because it's a process. It's a process. You start to cut down. And I had the same thing, with one of my clients, who is always, like she has this work hour. And, when we are working from home, it's almost like, the hours are just endless for you. And so, she will wake up, first thing wake up, maybe do her devotion, maybe not do her devotion, and then she just dive into work, and she will work, till like late. She wouldn't even remember to get up to go drink water or use the bathroom. And so we started, pulling back. I said, okay, how many hours do you get paid a week? And she said 40 hours. Okay. All right, let's figure out, how to get your 40 hours. Instead of you working 60 hours a week and you don't get paid 60 hours a week, right? So, we started working on that. And then I also told her, put on your phone, put a reminder. Okay, maybe every 1 hour, time for me to get up, go drink water, walk around a little bit, and then come back. And so, like just trying to implement little things into your life. Because again, we're thinking that we are fine. And this is why most people, when they get to, if you're blessed enough to get into your 60s, and by the time you retire, your whole body has crumbled up, right? And you're not able to even enjoy your retirement because you are going from one specialty to another to try to figure out what's wrong with you. Because those times, when you are supposed to be taking care of your body, you didn't have that opportunity because you are focused on doing other things other than taking care of yourself.
Wow, wow. I'm so grateful that God's grace and mercy on my life, because there were lots of opportunities where, I abused, early life. Oh, you don't even want to talk about that. It wasn't wine either. It was Grand Marnier, and stuff like that. But uh the sugars later in life, trading one vice for another, until, like I said, you get really, really rooted in God and wanting to be the best version of who He created you to be. And life can be hard, but God said that we're to endure like a good soldier. And sometimes you have to do like I did this morning, is separate from the calendar, the phone, the
Hmm.
computer, the demands of life, period, care what it is, and part with God, because when it becomes so overwhelming, and food is not your friend, you know.
Yes, yes.
It's not your friend. And when I say food is not the boss of me, I learned that then for that state, but I've
Mm,
even learned more that food really isn't my friend.
yes.
Jesus is my friend.
And he
You know,
teaches you what to do,
he leads and guides me into what? All truth. And I was like,
Yes,
wow.
yes. And I just wanted to also mention quickly here, as we are talking about the gut health, we know that, again, like last month, we talked about different organs that are involved in our whole detoxing. And so when your gut is not healthy, a lot of things happen. When we talk about, mental health, okay, this is this one I wanted to talk about here. And I kind of mentioned it a little bit, last time. When our gut is not healthy, it actually affects our mood and mental health. And the studies have shown that, when you are not able to, clean out your gut, take care of your gut, it leads to anxiety, it leads to depression, it leads to irritability, it leads to poor sleep. And one of the things that's, we get so hang up on, we got to eat dinner. Like some people miss dinner and they have to eat that dinner. And so 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, they are eating. And so when you're eating at that time, you go to bed, you don't have good sleep because your cells are too busy trying to, digest all those food that you just ate. And that's one of the things that, some people will say, stop eating at 5, some will say 6, some will say 4. So again, mind, if you are going to bed, whenever your bedtime is, try to stop eating between 2 to 4 hours to allow yourselves, as you are resting, your cells will be able to rest. Because again, if you are resting, quote unquote, trying to, go to sleep, you are not really getting that good sleep because they are busy working.
That is such a good point, because some people work different shifts, like a night
Mm-hmm.
shift or whatever. So what you're saying as a standard, restate that again.
So yeah, at least 2 to 4 hours before you go to sleep. So I
2 to
have,
4 hours prior to
yes.
sleep. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
So
have
if your
a friend of
bedtime is
mine.
right.
Yes, she works at night.
Uh-huh.
So what she does is that she would, of course, she's awake all night, she works, she's a doctor, so she work. But then, instead of her coming home and say, oh, I got to eat breakfast. No, she will eat, it's almost like she will eat maybe a few hours again, which is what we talked about because she was also my client. You eat and so that by the time you are ready to go to sleep, you are not sitting there fighting to eat breakfast so you can go to sleep. Because when you eat breakfast, and guess what? When you are laying down, your body is still, your cells are working to try to, digest those things, and you find yourself not getting enough sleep, even though you might say, okay, I got 8 hours of sleep, but your 8 hours of sleep was not well rested 8 hours.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's
So,
good. Yeah.
so I wanted to also mention that when our gut is not and it at its best, it also affects our mood. And they have also showcased, where certain food obviously were taken out of, again with kids, taken out of their food, and you start to see them behave better. They behave differently. And they actually have done this study with people who are in prison.
Hmm.
Yes. When they take out, certain food out of their, the normal food that they are eating, you start to notice that they actually start to behave, better. And they actually have gone as far as, looking at the people who committed like really, really bad crime,
Mm-hmm.
kind of study them to see what is their eating habits.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Yes. And
Wow.
that's how we understand that food, like you just said, if food is not our friend.
No. No.
Again, we have to understand, what are those good food? Again, like I talk about our macronutrients. Macronutrients are your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those are macro means big, so our body needs those in a larger quantity. But we have to understand when it comes to fat, you got to know which ones are your good fat and which ones are
Uh-huh.
your bad fat. You got to understand which ones are your good carbohydrate and which ones are your bad carbohydrate. And those are the things that people don't understand. They're like, oh, yeah, when people say I'm going on a diet, I'm going on a low fat diet, I'm going on a low carb diet, your body needs those to survive. That's why
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn which ones are the good carbohydrate and which ones are the bad carbohydrates, or which ones are the good fat and which ones are the bad fat.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
so here again, we talked earlier about the cravings and the appetite control. Again, when your gut, the gut bacteria directly influence hunger hormones. Okay, again, this is a whole, lecture on its own. Sugar cravings, food addiction patterns. Again, these are your bad bacteria. They are demanding this, sugar. Your good bacteria are craving for the good things. Because when we eat fiber basically will coat our guts. And so when you're eating carbohydrates, again, we know that carbohydrate get absorbed so fast, but when you're eating carbohydrate after you have eat, fiber, it's absorbed slowly. It does
Uh-huh.
not go into our blood vessels so fast. It
Uh-huh.
gets absorbed slowly. And that's why we have to be able to understand, those fibers so that we can eat them first before we start, getting on with our whole, again, even though they are all good carbohydrates, but we still need to eat them,
Anyway.
moderation. All right,
Mhm.
cravings are often a microbiome issue, not a willpower. Okay, we got to understand that we have There's something I was listening to, and the doctor, she's a physician, and she's very heavily into health and wellness. And she talks about how, some people, when they are on their menstrual period, they will start craving sugar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And she's like, it's not about the will, it's because when your body is not, your gut is not healthy, your gut is looking for something to be able to create.
Ah.
Yes. And so
Uh-huh.
and what happens when people are in their, menstrual period, you see some people, they, get into all that whole depression and, like their inflammation, you see
Mm-hmm.
their kind of, blow up,
Mm-hmm.
again, because their gut is not healthy.
Wow.
Yeah. We also know, obviously, with our, when our gut is not healthy, it affects our immune system. We tend to get sick a lot. Again, a damaged gut increases frequent infection, autoimmune activity, chronic inflammation. Therefore, when your gut is healthy, your immune system is also strong because you are feeding it. You are feeding your immune system the good things. And so when I teach my students about immune system, I always talk to them like, so let's say, for example, when you go through that situation where let's say fasting, okay? Hopefully one day I will get into the whole fasting and I'll talk about the fasting. But when you're fasting, your cells are resting. And not just that they are resting, your good cells are, traveling around looking for those dead cells, okay, and looking for those bad cells that are there that are not supposed to be there. And so, we have like the immune system have a way where they go through school. So I use analogy like, they take my anatomy and physiology. If you pass a class, you move on to the next, next class. But if you don't pass a class, you repeat it. But in our body, when the immune system or immune cells, when they don't pass the exam, they actually have kind of like a trigger that will tell them to kill themselves, and they have to kill themselves. And so what happens is that most of the time when those ones don't kill themselves, they become autoimmune. And that's how they'll start to attack ourselves because they don't recognize which one is self and which one is not part of self. And so they start to attack us. And so, here is again a part of the signs, that our God to give us, to let us know that we need to reset it. We have, like let's say digestive signs. Basically, when you're bloated after you eat, you have gas, you are gassy all the time, constipation or diarrhea, mental and energy signs. Basically, we have that brain fog. We are not able to focus well. We are constantly being fatigued. Okay. Skin and hormonal signs. You have acne, you have eczema, premenstrual menstrual syndrome, like I talked about. You see people start before they start seeing their period, they are craving for chocolate, they are craving for sugar. We have, again, hormonal weight gain. Okay, yeah, people that will say, I don't even eat that much. I'm not sure why I'm gaining weight. Again, it's all, our gut is not in check. Metabolic signs, sugar cravings, again, your weight will plateau despite you eating right. So when the gut is inflamed, the entire body suffers. All
Dr.
right.
Chichi, this is amazing. We're probably going to have to do part three.
Oh, oh,
Yeah, we've already run out of time, and I need to
oh
apologize.
yeah.
I
Oh
probably
wow.
got us um, distracted on earlier on with the weight and all of that, and
It is
because when you
needed.
said that point, but there's so much more to this,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yes. So
yes.
I'm good if we
Yep.
just continue,
Yep, I
because we want
am.
to get the gut clean so that we can move forward to other opportunities. But I
Yes.
believe that it takes time to get through your
Yes.
presentation. So we're going to just say part three is coming,
Okay.
so
All
you
right.
don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just continue to help us to grow.
Awesome.
So, really, thank you so much. I'm gonna ask you to stop sharing, but
Yes,
it's a
I
good,
am.
that's a good placed apart for right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, awesome. Well, I'm so excited about the things that we've learned. I'm encouraged, I'm in a better state of mind to receive what you're saying. And I hope that others, again, will not be caught up in condemnation, but that allow Holy Spirit to do his work. And that's his role, is to convict us when there's opportunities to change, because the shift is important. What God is calling us to this year, I wholeheartedly believe God is going to, he's already done it, miraculous things for us. We are walking into them. Yes, Renee. She said this was a needed conversation, ladies.
Oh,
And thank you all. Thank you so much for saying that. Thank you for being with us consistently this entire time. And, Julie, did you want to say something? I
Oh,
see.
just no. Let's see. Yeah, ditto. On the gut health thing, we don't give it enough credit. There's so many great new well, Chichi and I have known about these studies, but they're finally being brought to life. And that with the gut brain health, especially with our children and not being able to pay attention, and then our teenagers that have so much anxiety. A lot of it is due to the gut health, and we've got to really drill down on that. And it's not that vegetables aren't cool; they are so necessary to lay that foundation, so that you can think clearly, and that your mood is right, and you get rid of this anxiety. So
mm-hmm.
absolutely
Yeah.
spot on, Chi Chi. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. God is so good. Thank you so much, Julie, for adding in there. Lisa, are you there that we can find out what's coming up? What's happening?
Absolutely. Yeah. So let me pull up our Facebook group here. I got us on the live, so just so I can show where we're at. Um, we're in February, right? So we're talking about on Wednesdays, heighten your heartbeat for God. So make sure that you tune in for the next 2 weeks. I think there's 2 more weeks left in February. So we'll be having more conversations regarding that on Living Well Wednesday. On Tuesday and yesterday, we had a powerful transformation call every Tuesday, and you can tune into that. Yesterday, we had Renee Cawthorn. Next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, we'll have Angie Sella. So come be a part of the conversation, learn and glean. Check out our website, gcbnetwork.com. You can scroll down and it has our information for our weekly calls. So this is what I just said. So there
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Our Living Well Wednesday is going to come up next. So we had gut health reset today. Next week, we're going to have stress of the heart, God's heart or earthly heart. And then we're going to have Shantae wrapping it up. If you didn't catch the new nugget, that's in our Facebook group. You can catch that over there. We had Pamela Bridgman Bartell, who's one of our longtime members and sponsors. She's a sponsor now with us, but she's been with us for a very long time. And she opened up the month with our new nugget. In March, we'll have one as well for the first Friday new nugget. So check that out. On Monday, we have prayer call every Monday at 9 o'clock Eastern time. There is a corporate prayer opportunity for you to come on Zoom and just join us for prayer. That is all that we have on our lineup. We also have a Facebook page and a group if you're not part of that, which you probably are, but if you're not, go check that out. You go to the More tab and you go to events, you can find all of our call information with the call data, like how to get in to our Zooms, and you can plug those onto your calendar. If you say that you're going to these, if you click going, Facebook will automatically ping your Facebook 1 hour prior to give you a notification. And then as well, Rose schedules post for that to notify you in our Facebook group and page. But if you're part of this event out here, it'll automatically notify you in advance. And I think that's it. If you're not on our newsletter and you want to be part of our newsletter, you can email info@gcbnetwork.com. Give us your name and your email, and we'll put you on our email list. We have 2 emails that go out every month. So bi-weekly, and it just kind of highlights what we're doing. There's a great capture that either Rose or Beth will do to, encourage you throughout the month, throughout the rest of the weeks for that newsletter. And we also have Facebook and LinkedIn. We're streaming to that as well over here now. So that's all I have, Miss Steph.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. And in addition of what Lisa said, is a prayer letter goes out most Monday mornings. So make sure you grab that one because it has really been such a source of encouragement to me to be able to write it, and I've gotten some good feedback from different people that I didn't even know were receiving the prayer letter. So let that be your source of encouragement to direct you for your week coming. Listen, this has been wonderful for today. Thank you guys so much for joining us, whether you joined us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or through the Facebook streaming. We love, or you catch the replay in one of those opportunities, or you're here with us this entire broadcast. We want to say thank you so much for joining us. Continue to follow us, as Lisa said, and we look forward to welcoming you to the GCBN family as a member or a sponsor in the near future. Thank you. Always remember that God has a plan. What?
A part
And
of it.
I am a part of it. So are you. Take care. Bye bye now. God bless you all. Thanks.